And we starting out this episode with some Chris Paul appreciation. You feel me? Definitely an MVP candidate. I don't care about, what came out with the top 3 awards, whatever. Chris Paul, as we all know, is a real MVP candidate, man. Talk to me, Ahmad. What's good, bro?
Franchise changer. That's what Chris Paul is. I've been saying it for years. Wherever he goes, he makes a positive impact on winning and a positive impact on those franchises. You look at when he got drafted to New Orleans, took that team that wasn't making the playoffs, went to the playoffs. When he went to he went to the Clippers. What happened? Came Live City. When he went to the Houston Rockets, they had their most successful regular season with Chris Paul and James Harden. Then he goes to OKC. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs. What happens? Chris Paul comes on that team. They make the playoffs. Now he's with the Phoenix Suns, and people are like, "Oh, Phoenix Suns, what they did in the bubble, they went 7-0." But what Chris Paul came there, made him a top 2 seed in the West, and made him a legit championship contender. All that's because of Chris Paul's impact. People will talk about he doesn't have a ring and lists and all those narratives. That doesn't matter because this guy always has a positive impact on winning.
Yeah, wherever he goes, you said it best, franchise changer. And it's crazy, though, when you think of all the places that he's been, having that positive impact on whatever franchise it is. But of those teams that he's went to, which one would you say? And he's still not done with Phoenix, for the record. There's still some time left, in the playoffs. But of the team that he's been to, which one kind of has stuck out the most to you?
I really probably would say this Phoenix Suns team, because the Phoenix Suns, this is the first time they made the playoffs since the West Conference Finals since 2010. And I don't know how long it was. Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't know how long it was until they made the playoffs, but it was like 7 or 8 years until they got Chris Paul. And I was saying it like 2 years ago that, people were talking about Devin Booker. Devin Booker's not a winning player. He only just puts up empty stats. I was saying, as soon as you get Devin Booker 2 years ago, as soon as you get him a lead guard, I was saying, like, when people were talking about Chris Paul was washed and things because of those injuries with the Houston Rockets, I was like, they need Chris Paul. They should go out and trade for Chris Paul, because Chris Paul and Devin Booker, that's the only thing that was kind of Devin Booker needed. He needed a real elite point guard, so he wouldn't have to have so much ball handling responsibility. So you do that, and you bring him, you give Devin Booker Chris Paul, and now you see them going to the Western Conference Finals. I don't want to hear about injuries. People want to talk about the Lakers and this team. The Denver Nuggets was hurt. It doesn't matter. That's just a fact of the matter. They're in the Western Conference Finals right now, and Chris Paul has a lot to do with that.
But I say, if there's anyone that definitely doesn't deserve that injury discussion, I feel like it's definitely Chris Paul. Considering the history he's had. So it's like, now is his time. And it's just amazing to see that the Suns can definitely make the finals, led by Chris Paul. It would be crazy though. Like, obviously, he wasn't able to get MVP, but if he goes out there and wins Finals MVP, look, the way the playoffs are looking right now with injuries and, like you said, everything else, that could be a real thing. And for the record, so everybody knows, all right, I had the Suns finishing 3rd in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people, yelled at me, like, "Oh, what are you talking about this?" But hey, there's proof out there. I said it before. I had them finishing 3rd in the Western Conference. You feel me? You feel me? And now look, that's all I'm saying. And it's not about jumping on the bandwagon, but just when you look at that type of backcourt that they have and the effect that those two guys, Chris and Book, you know what I'm saying? Because I want to talk about the whole team too, right? It's not just Chris, but in terms of appreciation. Because I know, just in terms of everything that all those guys are doing on that team, especially, the coach, Monty. Shout out to Monty too. Got those guys playing high-level basketball, and it's paying off. And the world is finally seeing that on the big stage too. Because I think that's what that team and Book really needed. You know what I'm saying? To be on national television and people actually seeing how good he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, there's casuals out there that whatever. But, this isn't just a league pass team. You feel me? This is a good basketball team that can win the whole thing.
I feel like when we talk about Devin Booker, like you said, getting to see Devin Booker play, I was never concerned of him showing up in the playoffs because his game is tailor-made for the playoffs. He's a half-court scorer. He's a Kobe disciple. These are guys that elevate their games in the half-court system, meaning like they don't just play on the fast break. When they're in the half-court and things slow down, they can go out and get you a bucket. They got footwork. They got the skill set. They got 2-3 counter moves, all those types of things. So I was never worried about Devin Booker going to the playoffs or what he was going to do in the playoffs. I'm just happy he finally got to the playoffs and showed, like, you know what? I'm here. Like, I'm one of the best 25 and under, top 5, 25 and under players, in the game right now. And it's crazy. It took so long for this to happen because if you just do the eye test and you watch Devin Booker play, you know how lethal he is. You know how his bag is. You know how his package is. And it's just crazy how people kind of talk about players. They were talking about Devin Booker, basically shitting on Devin Booker, saying like, Devin Booker puts up empty stats. Devin Booker, is he really good? All this bullshit. But to be honest, nobody talks about the team situations and being in an incompetent team for several years until James Jones came. GM for the Phoenix Suns, who drafted the right players, who built a great team, who got Chris Paul, and that's also important. We got to give him flowers as well. So we can't get so much caught up on these superstar talent players and say what they're not doing if we're not going to have that same type of, flack for the ownership or flack for the front office that are making these decisions.
And people tend to put a lot of pressure on players, as they should, but at what point do you ask yourself, what are the GMs doing? Right? Because there's not a single player alive that, won an NBA Finals without some sort of help. You know what I'm saying? I know obviously we talk about, Bron and Kobe and Mike, the greats, but it's like you still need some sort of assistance on the basketball floor. And now, we're seeing that with the Phoenix Suns roster. So definitely shout out to James Jones and definitely giving him his flowers because that's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's real. Top to bottom is important. People just think it's just players on the court, but you got to make sure you got the front office, got to make sure you got the right coaching staff, the right offense and defensive system, all those great things. And we talked about Chris Paul being a franchise changer, and you asked me, like, what do I think his best impact on a team was? I said the Phoenix Suns. I want to know, what team do you think Chris Paul's best impact was on?
Best impact?
For just winning, creating a culture. He's been on a lot of great teams. OKC, that was a tough situation. Clippers, Lob City.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say OKC.
Okay.
Because even though there was a lot of people that might not have thought that Phoenix would make it this far in the playoffs, look, anytime you got a backcourt with Chris Paul and Devin Booker, you're a fool to think they weren't at least going to make the playoffs. That's just crazy. But the way people were talking about that OKC team, even with Chris.
Yeah.
It was like, and so to see kind of where he brought them in terms of just the overall doubt, like people were talking lottery. You know what I'm saying? Like people were talking like they were about to stink it up. People were talking about shutting him down. You feel me? Like just not even letting him play. And it's like, dude, like are we forgetting? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what bro was capable of? Like, you know what I'm saying? And to see, where he brought them, it's kind of crazy.
I think it was a 0.2% chance of them making the playoffs when he went to OKC, and a lot of people, like you said, like they was going like, oh, Chris Paul's going to play about half the year, and they're going to shut him down and stuff like that, or probably possibly trade him. So it was a lot of that noise. That was an impressive. And then he almost beat the Rockets against James Harden and Russell Westbrook. So that first round matchup, he almost beat his former team. So it's crazy. That's why to me, I'm about to say something. That's why I always say, I've been saying it for a while, that Chris Paul is the most all-around point guard in the history of the game. It's nothing he can do on the offensive side, defensive side, especially we talk about peak, and then we look at his basketball IQ. That's why it's no point guard in the history of the game, to me, that has an all-around game like Chris Paul. I call him a mini LeBron, just without the athleticism. That's how I view Chris Paul.
Okay. So if you're gonna say that, let's jump right into it then. Let's get it. We can get active. So give me your top 5 point guards that you would start a franchise with of all time.
Top 5. Well, like I said, we got to have the most all-around point guard of all time. So Chris Paul is definitely going to be on there. Then I'm gonna go. Can
you do me a favor? I'm sorry to cut you off. If you can, would you mind putting these in order? If you don't mind.
If you don't mind. Order? I'm going to start a franchise with this is not who's best. This is not like who's
to start a franchise
to start a franchise with, to a guy where I feel like, no matter the circumstances, not meaning like sometimes you can start a franchise with a player and then sometimes the team is not going to always be like great around him. So it's not just saying like, oh, we're going to place him with the best players. I want a guy that can do stuff with less players, kind of like a LeBron James, kind of like a Chris Paul. So if I had to start my franchise with a point guard, I'm starting my franchise with Chris Paul, the greatest all-around point guard of all time. And then I probably would go with Magic Johnson next.
Okay.
So, Magic Johnson's ability to make players better. Showtime, you already know what Magic is about. He's a legend. And then after that, I probably would go with the greatest shooter in the history of the game. Steph Curry, of course. You gotta have Steph Curry in the top 3. And then after that, I probably roll with, a sleeper that you probably won't think of, Gary Payton, a two-way player, guy that can, get to the rim. Him and Shaun Kemp was lethal. They were Lob City before Lob City. A lot of people don't know that. The Seattle Supersonics, they was tough. He was also guarding Michael Jordan in the finals, not making it difficult for Michael, but making things kind of challenging for Michael. So people don't know about. So Gary Payton for sure, number 4. And then probably number 5, man, I'm going to go with Mr. Triple-Double himself. I'm going to go with Russell Westbrook. This guy, 3 straight years averaging a triple-double. We know what he's about. Most athletic point guard in the history of the game. People can talk about playoff moments and things like that, but building a franchise, I want a guy that can put the franchise on his back and have success, especially in the regular season. So those my 5. So what's your 5?
Hey, you know what? Okay, so let's confirm your 5 again.
Okay.
So you got Chris,
number
1. You
got
Magic,
number 2.
You got Steph,
number 3.
Got GP,
number 4,
and you got Russ. I'm not mad at that.
Number 5. That's
I'm
to start a franchise with it. Yeah.
You know what though? I'm not gonna lie. I was a little nervous. I thought you was about to leave off Steph. I really did. Even though you said him at 3, I thought, you feel me, you were gonna leave bro absent off that list. But you saved yourself, so we're good. All right. So you want to know mine? All right.
Yeah.
So my point guards, and I'm gonna say them in order. I got Magic at number 1.
Okay.
All right. I got Steph
to build a team.
Yes.
Okay.
So all right. So I'm gonna give you 4 sentences. Okay. I'm gonna give you a full sentence. All right.
Yeah.
You ready? All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here are my top 5 point guards of all time that I would build a franchise with.
Okay.
Number 1, Magic Johnson. Number 2, Steph Curry. Number 3, Isaiah Thomas. Number 4, Chris Paul. Number 5, Russell Westbrook.
I'm not mad at that.
That's my 5.
I'm not mad at that.
I have a big issue. I have a big issue with you leaving off Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm tired of Isaiah Thomas being left off, okay?
This is and you know what? You have because I'm talking about to build a franchise with a point guard. So Isaiah Thomas probably would, because we saw Isaiah Thomas he went against prime Larry Bird and Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. He beat all those guys. And
took dubs. So
I probably would, if I had to swap out one, I probably would swap him out with probably either Gary Payton or Russell Westbrook. But I'm gonna keep my 5. I'm cool with my 5. You got your 5. But
I'm not mad at your 5. I'm not mad at your 5 at all. But let me shout out 2 guys though real quick to because these are 2 guys that neither of us said, and that was kind of surprising. Steve Nash, right? And John Stockton.
Of course, yeah. John Stockton's tough.
Talk to me about those 2 gentlemen, please.
I mean, you can't. To be honest, it's like pick your poison. Like I feel like you could go with Steve Nash, you can go with John Stockton. We know what John Stockton is about. But if I had to pick John Stockton or Steve Nash, I'm probably gonna roll with John Stockton because John Stockton, the best pick and roll passers in the history of the game, and John Stockton also, got it done on the defensive side of the floor as well. A lot of people don't know that. Like he was a stud, snout defender. So if I had to pick between those 2, that we kind of left off, I definitely would probably roll with, John Stockton. Steve Nash, he's efficient, he's lethal. But I'll really say Steve Nash kind of benefit from playing the Mike D'Antoni system. Not saying that Steve Nash is not a great player and stuff like that, but his time in Dallas compared to his time with the Phoenix Suns is 2 different layers. And a lot of that has to do, I believe, with his greatness, but also Mike D'Antoni's greatness and allowing him to play that 7 or second left system. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain players that that have benefited from playing in certain coaches' system. You know what I'm saying? But look, anytime you're a 2-time MVP, I mean, some of that is definitely on you as well. You feel me? But I'm gonna go with Steve Nash to answer your question. I'm gonna go with Steve. You brought up a good point on the defensive end. I mean, for those of you out there, go check that the all-time steals list, and you're gonna see a name in there. You talk about John Stockton, that's pretty high up. Facts, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna still take Steve Nash just because of the shooting aspect. I mean, you can make the case. Steve is top 5, top 10 shooters of all time. People always talk about his passing and how crazy it is, but when it comes to shooting, Steve is up there. You feel me? He might not be catch and shoot, but just straight up shooter. Come on, come on, like pure. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a a conversation that's out there in terms of just straight up shooter. But in terms of talking about shooter, to kind of jump ship a little bit, I know we talked about this last episode. mid-range assassins. Guys who, we talk about the midi, are holding it down.
We just saw somebody close out a team with 37 points and 16 straight points, and a lot of them points was coming from the midi. That's Chris Paul. So
yeah,
he's definitely a mid-range assassin. Even LeBron James, not more so his Lakers tenure, but like his overall career, he's been lethal at the mid-range. Of course, you got Kawhi. We know we know the two GOATs, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. We know what they did at the second level on the basketball court. But who are some other players you feel like that really dominates at the mid range?
I'm gonna keep it current just so that we don't irritate anyone. Obviously, like you said, Mike, and Cole. But just to keep it current, I won't leave anyone else off. Right. So I got a good list of just middies, right? And obviously these aren't the only guys, all right. But I'm gonna give you a couple names: Kevin Durant,
of course,
Kawhi Leonard. Your guy, JT, Jason Tatum, CJ McCollum, DeMar DeRozan, Kyrie Irving, Christopher Paul, Lou Will, Devin Booker, and Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, that's those mid-range assassins. Everyone you said is a fact. That's a fact.
That's
and be honest, that last person you said, Carmelo Anthony, may be. After Michael and Kobe, let me tell you something. He may be the best after Michael and Kobe for that mid-range, pull up, and that's scoring at the second zone of the basketball court because he's lethal. Face-up game, post-game, fade-away. Yeah, Carmelo's tough. So he's different. He's different. Offensive package is different.
But you know what, though? Now that we're talking about it, you mentioned those names. Melo, Cole, Mike, all that. You said something, pull up, right? But the thing is that I like about their game is that the footwork, right? And you talk about that post area. Sometimes no dribble is required. Just the footwork. We talk about the pump, all that into one. It's just like, yo, you feel me? At all levels of just straight up, yo, the midi is here. You know what I'm saying? And I want to say shout out to DeMar, who really, really has that in his bag in terms of just straight up midi. You know what I'm saying? Like
future Laker possibly.
Oh my gosh.
Future Laker.
First of all, to be clear, that wasn't oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen. Listen, if DeMar DeRozan wants to come to the city of Los Angeles, understand something. We welcome him with open arms. Okay. Okay. But it's just like, hey, is this another former Spur that'll be playing in the city of Los Angeles? I'm not mad at it.
Never know,
you feel me? I'm not mad at it at all. Hey, because Lakers, at this point in time, the Lakers could definitely use them. I mean, you talk about having that third star, right? I think DeMar DeRozan will fit in perfect with that system, what they got going on with the Lakers.
Definitely, man. I mean, it's DeMar. People, and it's crazy because I was saying I got evidence to support my claim, but unfortunately my Twitter is suspended. So anybody out there that knows anybody at Twitter, help me get my Twitter back, A-Kiss NBA. But I was saying this earlier in the season. I was just like, yo, I've been saying it for the past 2 years, actually, that the Lakers need, regardless of them winning it, they won that championship. But I was saying this before. Once they got AD, I was like, yo, they still need a third scorer. Like, I was like, they can win a championship this year. And they did. But I was like, they still need a third guy. Like, because you can't have LeBron James. At some point, LeBron James is as great as he is. We're starting to see a little bit of father time kind of catch up to LeBron James. Like the injuries he's getting, it's starting to take a little bit more time for him to recover. So you don't want to have him go so hard in the regular season. You need a guy, even though he's been, could have won an MVP that 1 year when Giannis won. And then the season got shut down. He was looking like he could have been an MVP candidate before he got hurt and all those things. But you need a guy that can be the third option come playoff time, but really be the second option for the entire season, regular season, and let LeBron James kind of coast and do what he does. He's still LeBron, gonna get you 25, 7 and 7, of course, but the Lakers need a third guy. They need a third guy, especially with, I feel like you never know what's gonna happen. The NBA tends to go to, having 3 stars on a team. You look at the Brooklyn Nets, you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, you look at the Philadelphia Sixers right now. They got 3 legit guys on those teams that are really all-star caliber or either superstar caliber players. So the Lakers got to get a third guy.
Third guy. It's funny when you talk about trios and just the third guy. to kind of segue, it's like it reminds me of that Miami Heat team. Obviously Wade, Bron, and Bosh, but like couldn't it have been Wade, Bron, and Melo?
Yeah.
How different things would have been if Carmelo Anthony was a member of that Miami Heat team?
I think it would have been different, but I also think it's about mentality. Carmelo Anthony having Carmelo take the third seat, kind of be the third option. I don't think that was going to work, So I think it would have worked because of LeBron. LeBron tends to make everything work, but for us, like, that's just not Carmelo's mentality. You know what I'm saying?
I think players tend to shift when it comes to like winning a chip though, and making that sacrifice, especially at that stage.
Melo was a star in his prime, man. Like he wasn't like Chris Bosh was a star. Chris Bosh was great, but it was more easy for Chris Paul to kind of do that than Chris to say Bosh, Chris Bosh to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Then Carmelo Anthony. Chris Bosh was coming from Toronto Raptors, wasn't really having playoff success, and it was just like it was more a natural fit for him to play that third star role. By asking Carmelo Anthony, a guy that needed the ball in his hands, to come down and play that third role in his prime, where he feels like, in his mind, that he's on the caliber of LeBron James or Dwyane Wade. So,
yeah, I'm not mad at it. But I asked about Carmelo because we're about to transition into some Knicks talk. We all know Carmelo. Carmelo is a former Knick, one time for the New York Knicks. So, let's get it. Let's talk about it.
It's your boy, MK Smith, also known as AKs. Make sure you guys go follow No Pump Fakes wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, we got my man Shaun here from the Knicks Wall, King of Knicks Twitter. What's going on, Shaun, man? Appreciate you for pulling up, man. What's up?
What's up, man? That's a hell of an honor. Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
Of course, man. No, it's all good, bro. So yeah, we'll just hop right in, man. The first question that we have for you, man, was what are your thoughts on how the New York Knicks season went this year?
I think our season was phenomenal. I was one of the few people. I'm always pretty much on the optimistic side. I'm a realistic optimist. But, in the beginning of the season, I just felt like we had potential to be pretty solid. I didn't think we'd have home court advantage in the playoff series, though. So the season went phenomenally. I think RJ took a huge step. RJ becoming a 40% three-point shooter when people told me he would never be able to shoot. It was huge. Julius had an MVP type season. Tibbs did a great job, even though he played out for Payton all year.
I knew that was coming. I was gonna try my best to avoid any type of question,
especially in the playoffs too.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, the playoffs were disappointing, but I think, and one thing a lot of people don't necessarily realize that like we missed Mitchell Robinson a lot, especially against the Hawks. Like they were able to just use Capella in a way that he wouldn't have been able to be used. So between missing Mitch and then waiting too long to make certain adjustments, the playoffs didn't go that way. But Julius had a rough first season when he was adjusting to being the number one guy. So I just feel like, having a rough playoff series in his first playoff series, I think he'll bounce back. He's a hard worker. I got full faith in my guy. So it was a great season overall. It sucked that it ended the way it did, but it was a great season.
What do you think Julius Randle's All-Star season means for the New York Knicks, like going forward?
I honestly, my homie Mike Cortez from the Knicks Wall wrote a piece about it, but like this really might have been like Julius's season is one of the most important seasons in Knicks history, like by any player, honestly. Like,
wow,
for him to come here when we were the way that we were, and perceived the way that we were, to have the first season he did, which is a little bit of disappointment, to come back and like bounce back the way that he did and improve from 28% to 41% from the three, to be able to be able to be the person that runs the offense, to be the, I hate to, throw more number six slander, but it's like running the offense with the point guard on the floor who's shrinking it is impressive in itself. So, I think, and it also, it's like, it established something. Like for a long time, as free agents, maybe this can happen, maybe that can happen. And it's like, yeah, we're in a pretty good, but no, we finally had a good season. Like we had a good season, we have a good team, and we have a foundation to build from. And that doesn't happen without Julius Randle.
Yeah. Guys always talk about, the free agency the next coming year, but sometimes you just got to put trust in the guys that you have right now. You know what I'm saying? Like the roster that the Knicks put out there, they fought hard, and I think even as a Knicks fan, they definitely surprised a lot of people. Not to say that people weren't prepared, but the fact that they got home court, not just made the playoffs, right? They had home court in my opinion, a tough Eastern Conference. I don't care what anyone says, but getting home court in that Eastern Conference, man, is definitely something to brag about. So, look, I just want to give Knicks fans in general, including you, man, their flowers. Ahmad, you got something to say?
I mean, yeah, Knicks fans are cool, but that they got home court and then they won one game and they went act like they won the NBA championships. That was kind of annoying, but other than that, it's the NBA is better when the Knicks are successful. So I was happy to see that the Knicks got back into the playoffs and the Knicks are, up and coming, definitely.
It wasn't necessarily a matter of acting like we won a championship. You got, remember, people couldn't be in the arena. It was like 2,000 capped, and then the playoffs hitting there with 15,000. So people were just happy to be outside. One. Mm-hmm. And who's your team? Who's your team, Ahmad?
I'm just a diehard basketball fan, but Dwyane Wade.
He likes the Miami Heat. He likes the Miami. Exactly. He likes the Miami Heat.
Here we go. But Dwyane Wade is my favorite player of all time. So I grew up really supporting the Miami Heat.
So you got to see your team go to 4 straight NBA finals. You got to see them win 2 of those championships. You got to see.
Of course.
We went 8 years without winning a playoff game, bro. Let us have it. Let us have it. Like, let us have it.
You're right. You definitely right. And Shaun, you kind of talked about Mitchell Robinson and if you guys had him and what his impact would be. Talk to us a little bit about Mitchell Robinson. What do you think a healthy Mitchell Robinson brings to the New York Knicks team next season?
I can't wait to get a healthy Mitchell Robinson, man. And also, I believe he bulked up in the time that he was out. But I mean, he does such a great job patrolling the paint. He's such a great enforcer. He's such a great, he stepped up in that Tibbs role. Tibbs challenged him and he responded well. Like he was able to play 30 minutes a game. He was able to stay out of foul trouble. He was able to not gamble so much. His block numbers went down, but I think a lot of that it's almost, and I hate to slam, but I hate to like kind of move it to football, but it's like, I'm a Jet fan, and Derrick Rose had a season where he didn't get a lot of interceptions, but it's because nobody threw the ball in his direction. And I think that Mitchell Robinson has the same impact, where it's like he's not blocking as many shots because people aren't trying it anymore.
Because they know.
They know. Nerlens Noel did a great job. Nerlens Noel patrolled the paint. He did a great job defensively. He blocked a lot of shots this year, but that like Trey to Capella lob, some of those Trey floaters, Mitchell Robinson he's playing volleyball with that. It's just a different level. And he's a much better rebounder. So, I think we missed him on the boards. We missed him offensively because of the lob threat he has vertically and defensively being able to just, patrol the paint. And he's so switchable. Like Mitchell Robinson, the sky's the limit for him, man. I have so much faith in Mitchell Robinson.
Facts. I mean, and I mean, the good thing too is that he's young, and you talk about, the sky being the limit for him. But another young piece that, obviously, the Knicks have is RJ. So, kind of, just tell me what it means to you and kind of where you see his game evolving to over the next few seasons. You smiling?
It's on camera. Look, man, they already got me on camera getting emotional once. I really, I get emotional about RJ.
I'm not mad at it, man. Go ahead, bro.
No, it was huge, man. I've been a huge RJ fan from the jump. I flew to the Garden the time I met you, Theus. I flew to the Garden for RJ's home debut. I couldn't miss it. I also went back up there for his playoff home debut. So, I'm very tied to RJ Barrett, like emotionally. But for him to do what he did in his rookie year, was slow. I don't think we helped him a lot. And I still don't think he was used to his fullest potential this year. I think we should have put him in the post on smaller guards a lot. I think we should have gave him more transition opportunities. But still, he stepped up in the areas where he could step up. Like, I'm telling you, RJ was 19 years old, and people were telling me he would never be able to shoot. And then he came back at 20 and shot 40% from 3. So, I mean, for him to be able to do that, and he's just, RJ's a two-way stud. Like, he's really going to be a superstar in this NBA, and I feel confident in that. But, superstar. I mean, like, superstar.
He's going to be a superstar in this league.
I like that. That's what he said. That's what he said.
Superstar.
Yeah,
so
that's what he said.
You say, Shaun, he's going to be a superstar. Can you talk to us about what are some things that you think RJ Barrett's game needs to do to evolve to become a superstar over the next few years?
Over the next few years, and Drew Hanlon said one thing they're focusing on this summer is off the dribble, like shooting off the dribble.
Okay.
And I think that if RJ comes back next season, he shot a couple pull-up threes this year, but, it was an anomaly kind of. But if he's doing that consistently, if the handle is better, if he's he's just going to continue to, he's strong as hell. Yeah, so he was finishing through guys as a rookie. So as that finishing continues to improve, as he starts getting a little more respect around the league and getting some damn calls. Like, I think because RJ's so strong, like there's a lot of calls he just doesn't get because the ref's like, nah, he's doing that. So, I think as those things come together, like, you get a couple more foul calls, that could be an extra 4 points a game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Also thinking like you said, you talk about his strength and his size. He's incredibly strong. He kind of, if he can start learning how to like use that and kind of draw fouls and stuff, he kind of has that ability to like get to the rim and slashing ability similar to James Harden a little bit. And people don't really talk about that. Like if he can keep developing, like drawing fouls, I don't care what people say, drawing fouls is a skill to me. And if RJ Barrett can add that, yeah, he can. That's an extra 4, 5, 6 points per game just for getting to the free throw line.
You know why people don't talk about it? Because it was a 3-player draft, and RJ was arguably one of the best players. And then New York got the 3rd pick in the lottery, and suddenly it was a 2-player draft, and RJ Barrett sucked. That's what happened. If RJ Barrett wasn't a Knick, the entire NBA would love him.
Damn. Yeah. That's a powerful quote. that's a powerful quote. Goodness, I don't even think. All right. I mean, I still think people love RJ. I mean, they just wanted Knicks fan. They just wanted everybody wanted Zion to go to the Knicks. That's what happened. So Shaun is simply it's some truth to what Shaun is saying. Yeah, and I mean Knicks wanted like a 40, 50 point scorer. I think there was so much pressure on him, especially coming from Duke. It's like, yo, all right, if you're not giving us 40, then it's like, all right, what are you doing? It's like, yo, you said it best. He's still like 19, 20 years old. Like he's still young. Like a lot of guys, it still takes time for them to, as long as he's heading in the right direction, right? Which I think he is. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, all right, he's playing like a scrub. Let my man get some time in the league.
Yeah, I have the like I said, I believe he will be a superstar, and I have the utmost confidence in RJ. One, because of what I've seen, the physical tools he has, but it's like the work ethic and mentality, like the improvement from year 1 to year 2, bro. As somebody who watches every game, it's ridiculous. Like I don't know how people can watch RJ Barrett play. And there were some people who like called him and said he's nothing but a role player. And I'm just like, yo, you didn't watch the games, bro. Like if you watch RJ Barrett play, he was guarding Kawhi Leonard 1-on-1 for like an entire game pretty much. And we won the game. Like, and that's, so he has potential on both sides of the ball. I think he's an excellent passer. I wish we used him more as an initiator. I hope that we do that more next year. I've never developed a player before, like in the NBA. So maybe Tibbs is giving him a little bit at a time, So hopefully next year we get to see more of the initiation, more post opportunities, but he has a lot of versatility. Like he may not be like super amazing at any one thing right now, but he has so much room for growth in so many different areas. And it's like I always think to myself like, damn, 5 years from now, RJ Barrett's going to be 25. That's going to be a problem for the league.
You know what? And Shaun, you saying a lot of facts right now. The problem is a lot of times people expect these lottery players to come in and everybody's supposed to be a Luka Doncic. Everybody's supposed to be a Jason Tatum. And that doesn't happen. Sometimes you got to have guys develop over the course of their careers. Look at Julius Randle. Julius Randle came in as a bully, a post bully, basically just operating the first level on the basketball court. Over the course of his career and his development, as you see the Julius Randle now, he can play the point forward position. He's become a skill bully, being able to operate and score at the second and third level on the basketball court, being able to create a shot, being able to shoot the three, being able to pass the ball. So you got to give some players time to develop. Not everybody's going to hit the ground running, and I definitely can see what you're saying with RJ Barrett, especially if he has that work ethic. So,
I mean, one time, look, I'm going to have to say this, and I apologize, Shaun. Shout out to Julius. Not that part. Not shout out to Julius, feel me? But former Laker. So he's
definitely
born with the Laker.
I appreciate it.
Born with the Laker organization, definitely, happy to see what he's doing, but want to acknowledge former Laker. But I see, obviously you got the Spree jersey in the background. So a question that we have for you as well is, could you name like your 5 favorite Knicks of all time?
Ooh,
and it could be from this, you know what I'm saying, this team, but of all time, your 5 favorite Knicks of all time.
All right, so I'm going Spree. I'm going Melo because Melo.
It's mandatory.
I'm going RJ Barrett. That was 7, 8, 9. And then I was really young, but I was like still there, so I'm going Patrick Ewing.
Okay.
And then I want to get a sleeper one off. I don't want to say nothing like real.
Yeah.
Stephon Marbury. Stephon Marbury. He didn't have a great Knicks career, but Stephon
Very
Marbury was my hero
choice.
as a kid.
He was a bucket.
I had the Stephon Marbury jersey backpack.
Yeah, one time for the spin pass.
I had the Starberry shoes.
five pairs. You mean I can buy my favorite player's sneakers with my allowance?
Oh my goodness! Like, what time for Marbury, man? Oh my good, dang, that's a good one. That's a good list. I like that list. Ahmad, you got one? You got Knicks that first come to mind?
Probably Patrick Ewing. Gotta have Patrick. I like Stephon Marbury. I'll probably throw Stephon Marbury. My favorite, not greatest of all time, Knicks fan.
Right.
Players
of
all time, of course. So Patrick Ewing, Stephon Marbury, Carmelo Anthony, of course. Man, I like Bernard King. You got to go back and watch his takes. He was crazy.
He was a bucket.
Shout out.
He was crazy. And I'm gonna tell you a real sleeper one. Guy that really came from nothing. John Starks.
Very solid answer.
That guy was a problem.
Yeah.
What about you, Theus? What you got?
All right, here we go. I'm gonna start off Carmelo Anthony. Again, obviously mandatory.
Of course, yeah.
Favorite Knicks of all time. Number 2, I'm going with JR. A little upset that neither of you mentioned JR. I needed to hear JR in there.
Yeah.
Number 3, I'm going to go with Shump.
Oh,
one time for the one time. One time for the one time. I'm going to go with Jeremy Lin as well.
Oh, wow.
Feel me?
Wow. 2 weeks.
You know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with the last one, Tyson Chandler.
Oh, you upset.
And the reason why I say that, whenever you play 2K with Knicks Tyson Chandler, no one was scoring on you in the paint. And it really was that simple. Like, literally, between lobs and just overall protecting the rim, like, feel me? You were probably going to win that game if you had Tyson Chandler.
Between Shump on the perimeter and Tyson in the paint, yeah, it was a wrap.
Like, come on. What JR lights out? Oh, man.
What 2K was that? Because that Knicks team was OD with JR, Carmelo. That team, yo, I won a lot of games playing with that Knicks team. That team was OD, man.
Who was the point guard for that Knicks team? Do you remember?
Felton.
Oh, my gosh. One time for the one time.
I took a lot of people's money. I took a lot of people's money in 2K13.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had Jason Kidd.
Felton. UNC.
Yes, sir.
You see, I couldn't say JR or Tyson, though. I love the Shump pick because I loved Iman Shumpert. Like, I'm an Iman Shumpert stan. I have Iman Shumpert's jersey. I couldn't say JR or Tyson. JR had a great season that year. I love JR Smith 100%.
He won a six man of the year, right? That year, right?
He won 6 man of the year that year. Tyson Chandler won defensive player of the year that year. They were both great. And then J.R. Smith threw an elbow at Jason Terry in round 1 of the Celtics series and never came back. He got suspended for 1 game, but he never came back. He abandoned Melo in the Pacers series. Tyson Chandler got bullied by Roy Hibbert and averaged 4 points and 4 rebounds in an entire 6 games. Like, what? So, they failed Melo. The only people who showed up for Melo in that series were Iman Shumpert and Chris Copeland, which is a damn shame.
Chris Copeland. Woo, we're throwing out names today. We are throwing out names today. That should have been the original question. I should have changed it. Name 5 random Knicks.
Yeah.
It's layups to just say Melo, Shump, you know what I'm saying, JR.
We had some good ones.
Of course. That's a fact. But you start throwing out names like, throw some Steve Novak in there. Get some real get some real respect on, certain Knicks guys, man.
Yeah. Shaun, we want to ask you, before you get out of here, the Knicks could have up to $70 million in cap spaces all season. So we want to know, if you were the GM, what moves would you make?
All right, so we gotta figure out what reality we're in, because I'm doing everything in my power to put manifesting the Clippers losing. Luka really let me down. I thought they were gonna lose in the first round. I needed them to lose because I need Kawhi to leave, but I don't think it's gonna happen now. They're winning, and PG is showing up in the playoffs. It's just like, oh man, this is not what I needed. So I'm gonna let the Kawhi pipe dream go. I think my first priority this offseason would be Lonzo Ball. I wanted to trade for Lonzo at the trade deadline. I think that he's interchangeable. You can have Lonzo and you can still go get a point guard if you want one, or you can let him run the show. I believe that you can get Lonzo and just allow Emmanuel Quickly to do what we should have been letting him do last year, which is
cook.
Just cook. The only person in the NBA who could stop Emmanuel Quickly last year was Tom Thibodeau. It was crazy. It was nuts. So, yeah, I definitely want to get Lonzo Ball just to make sure that that's shored up. He shot really well. He's 23. He's only going to continue to improve. He's a lockdown defender, and I really love Ball in the family. So
I'm not mad at that. I'm here to tell you though, even if Kawhi, that would have happened with Luka Doncic in the first round, Kawhi is not going to the Knicks. He likes warm weather. So I didn't see that. But it's always a possibility. You never know though.
I mean, you think a player would turn down going to a team because of the weather, bro?
That was one of the main issues with San Antonio, like when he went to Toronto, why he wanted out of Toronto because of the weather. That was a big part, and he wanted to go home.
He was in Canada.
Yeah. But come on, we're not about to.
New York cold. What y'all mean?
Like, listen. There's nothing like New York, bro. I get it. Okay, it's snow.
That's true, yeah.
It's still the city.
Kawhi not Hollywood though, for real. You know how it is in the city. We both, we lived here.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean,
come on now. Miami would have probably a better chance. Put that agenda. Better chance if anybody.
Push that agenda.
But Shaun, I like the Lonzo Ball. I find that interesting. So you sign Julius Randle. That's another question. Like, do you give Julius Randle what he wants, a max contract extension? Yeah. What do you do with that?
You give Julius Randle whatever he wants. He's earned it.
Wow.
He's earned it. Like, come on. The guy put up it. I don't like, because when you don't pay a guy, everybody always has reasons why a guy shouldn't get paid. And it's just like when you look around the NBA and you see the production you got of Julius Randle, what he took on, the leadership, all of that. Who are you getting that from for that price? His max isn't even crazy. So it's just like, give him the money now before you have to wait a season and the max goes up, and then it's even more money. Like, give him the money. He's earned it.
But what if you give Julius Randle the max, right? And then let's say you get a Lonzo Ball, right? So now you got for years, your core is Lonzo Ball, RJ Barrett, and Julius Randle. And Julius Randle got to be the first option on your playoff team, which isn't the whole thing to win championships. And do you think that like that can possibly be a championship caliber team if that happens?
Okay, so I don't think the signing Lonzo. Okay, you said like we have like up to $60-70 million in cap.
Yeah,
we can probably get Lonzo for like 20 mil.
Okay,
realistically. So then you got like another $40-50 million left. We got multiple first round picks in this draft. We have extra first round picks coming up. We've got young assets. So I don't think that would be the end of the moves, but you just gotta keep moving. Nothing happens overnight. So I think that we just my goal for this offseason is to be a better team than we were last year, and then you just keep taking the steps.
Yeah, and I think y'all definitely can. I mean, in terms of like when we talk about free agency, but I do agree with you though. I think Julius should get his money. Especially, definitely. I mean, you brought up a good point. Like when you look around the league, it's like how many guys are capable of doing all of that, And I feel like Julius, wants to be there. You know what I'm saying? And like this isn't 100%. A situation where like we're looking at a talented player who's like taking advantage of an organization. I mean, the way that team is set up, I think he fits in perfectly. Not even just from a talent and basketball perspective. It's just like, it's kind of a grit and grind situation in a way that the Knicks, how they win their games is important. And I think Julius fits that roster perfectly.
That culture, that New York
exactly,
culture.
That culture. Exactly, that New York culture. He's already used to playing in a big city. We talked about New York and L.A. And even going back to his Kentucky days. He's used to being on that big stage. So, I mean, and Knicks fans embrace him, right?
100%.
You don't really hear, Knicks fans boo Julius Randle like that. So, it's
some of them were talking crazy after the playoffs, but like,
well, I mean, naturally that's what happens. You know what I mean?
I'm shooting that out the sky. No, that's not naturally what happens. Though. You can't have a guy.
It can't always be great. I mean, it is New York. You feel me? At the end of the day,
but
you got to produce.
You got to produce. But like, because it is New York, like we get called the best fans in the league. Most knowledgeable fans in the league. We can't act like children. Like we can't be so fickle, and I hate that. Like you can't have a guy go balls to the wall for you 71 out of 72 games. And the only game that he sat was because Budenholzer sat Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. And he had got knee in the thigh by none other than Alfred Payton the day before. So Tibbs sat him out.
There's a lot of there's irony in that. I feel like Knicks fans being spoiled. It's like, wait, hold on. Like, again, Julius obviously, like you said, produced this season, but let's remember what he did over the course of his regular season and not be so quick. You just say, what the hell, man? Where was da-da-da? Like, he went ghost. Like, look, not a lot of people, man, expected y'all to be there in the first place. But the minute I get there, all of a sudden, the loyalty just goes away.
It's gross, bro.
I understand that. I think people just were a lot of people picked the New York, except for me. A lot of people picked the New York Knicks to beat the Atlanta Hawks because Julius Randle, the 3 games he played Atlanta this year, he averaged like 37 points per game. So to see his playoff struggles, he went from like averaging what he averaged in the regular season to like averaging 18-4 and shooting 30% from the field. So it was a really, really bad like first round performance for Julius Randle. So that's probably why you hear the outcry that you hear.
Yeah, it was a bad first round, but I feel like a lot went into that. Like I said, we missed Mitchell Robinson. Every time Julius Randle caught the ball, like as soon as he got a touch, Clint Capella was beyond in help mode. Like he was coming past the midline because he didn't have to worry about Nerlens Noel or Taj Gibson. So, and then you had Reggie Bullock on the floor for 34 minutes getting 0 points with Trae Young on him. I think that's the main issue. Nobody talks about that, though. And love to Reggie Bullock. He did an excellent job this year. He shot the ball really well. He took big defensive assignments, and we were a top defense in the league, and he was guarding top perimeter players every night. So I'm really grateful for that. But you scored 0 points in 34 minutes in a playoff game while the opponent is hiding their weakest defender on you. You're hurting the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's been, plenty of guys in league history, that have had like terrific regular seasons and not the greatest playoff performances in that same year. So, I mean, it happens. Look, these guys, it's not the first time it's happened, and it definitely won't be the last. But, I mean, the good thing is, too, though, like the Knicks roster, generally speaking, is young. So, it's not like, all right, this is the end of an era. If anything, it's the opposite.
It's
the beginning.
Hey, so we here. Quick, hold up. Last question. We got to talk about this man because to me, he was the best player on y'all team for the playoffs.
Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose. You talk about bringing in Lonzo Ball, but do you think you guys could probably sign Derrick Rose to an extension and maybe not and go after a different free agent instead of like Lonzo Ball? Because Derrick Rose, he's back. It's like what he did in that playoff series was special.
And honestly, he did that all year for us. Like
exactly.
He was really good. I 100% want to bring Derrick Rose back, and I'm sorry I didn't say that. Yeah, I definitely want to bring Derrick Rose back. He was huge. He was able to get to the basket. His mid-range jumper was knocked down. He was hitting threes. He played some of the best defense I've seen him play in his career. He was inspired playing under Tibbs. He committed and bought in. He took the rookies under his wing the day he got here. So you just love to see that. So I would love to have Derrick Rose back, but I don't want Derrick Rose to be like, because of the way that Tibbs is doing it, where he would play, number 6 for the first 3 minutes of the game and then play Derrick Rose the rest of the game. It's just like Derrick Rose now playing 37 minutes because I want that to be better managed. So if he wants to keep bringing him off the bench, like cool, sign Lonzo, start him. If not, then I honestly, that's why I said Lonzo's interchangeable. Like I see Lonzo in Reggie Bullock's role, to be honest. I see it as a 3-and-D guy who is more capable. Like the thing about Reggie, he's 3-and-D, but he really gave us nothing else. Like he couldn't put the ball on the floor. You can't run a screen with him. Like you can't. So it's like Lonzo gives you more flexibility on the floor while still giving what Reggie gave. But I don't think that I'm not trying to get Derrick Rose out of here in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, facts.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I figured as much, to be honest with you. I mean, no one is, especially with the way he's, been playing. But yeah, signing Lonzo, I guess obviously, Ahmad, you asked it what would be next for Derrick Rose. But yeah, man, I mean, that was, I guess the final question that we have for you. Is there anything else that you want to say on behalf of Knicks Twitter that you want to tell the world and tell No Pump Fakes?
Hey, man, once again, shout out to No Pump Fakes for having me. The Knicks are back. Like we here, we still here. We're not going nowhere, and it's only going to get better. We got plenty of cap space. We got plenty of draft picks. We got a front office that I trust. We made the best trade. I think the Derrick Rose trade is the best trade of the season. Nerlens Noel put up he put up amazing defensive numbers on 1 year, $5 million. Alec Burks was huge off the bench, 1 year, $6 million. So this front office knows what they're doing. I trust them. The RJ is going to get better. Mitch is going to be healthy and get better. Julius Randle, as you know, Theus, as a Laker fan, has improved pretty much every season. So I don't see that. He won most improved player and then asked if he can win it again, if he's able to do that. Like, I've never heard anybody say that. So, we're here. We're not going nowhere. Follow the Knicks Wall. We do pretty amazing things over there.
Facts. One time for the Knicks Wall.
One time for the Knicks Wall.
One time for the Knicks Wall. Happy for you, bro. Well, we appreciate you for pulling up, man. We just needed your perspective on everything, Nick. So this was your year. I want to say congratulations. You feel me? Congratulations on your season, man. You're just as part of their team, man. Congratulations, bro.
I really appreciate that, man. I appreciate y'all having me. This is a great time. Y'all are very knowledgeable basketball people at the end of the day, always.
For sure. All right, bro. So we're going to holler at you, man. Appreciate you for pulling up.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one.
Cap or no cap, Luka is going to finish his career with more MVPs than Giannis.
Wow.
Yeah. oh my God. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you got two media darlings and Giannis and Luka Doncic. I'm gonna say no cap. Yeah, Luka probably gonna finish more with Giannis. I think the NBA loves Luka Doncic, the media loves Luka Doncic, and as long as he can get his team into a top 5 seed, I feel like he's gonna win multiple MVPs. He was my pick to win MVP this year, to be honest, but unfortunately, seeding kind of plays a part of that. But he's talented. I can see Luka Doncic in his career with at least 3 to 4 MVPs. Just off of likability, just off of marketability, just off the, being a media darling in the NBA. Because, Giannis, they gave Giannis one, to be honest. And we want to really talk about it with the James Harden situation, but that's here nor there. So definitely I feel that Luka Doncic will win more MVPs than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
And also, let me just add in there, Luka is talented. I think you forgot that part of your media darling rant. He's a very good basketball player.
Of course. But we know that talent is not the only thing you need. There's a whole lot of talented players.
Wow.
In this league.
You mean NBA awards? There's politics involved in NBA awards?
All awards. What a conversation for another day.
Hey man, there's certain players that should have way more MVPs. I won't say names, but there are certain players that should have a little bit more MVPs. But you know what though? The thing is about saying things like that is that when we say certain players should have more MVPs, certain players should have more All-Star selections, we neglect to acknowledge that means ultimately someone else should get it.
I know what it means. I'm firm on. We can have a conversation. This probably gonna be another podcast some other day. But I know what it means. Trust me, because it's a Hall of Famer, as great as he is, that's coaching an NBA team right now. And I can legitimately say that I do not know, and we can just end it at that. So yes, Giannis. Yes, Luka will win more MVPs. That's no cap than Giannis Antetokounmpo. We can just end it at that because I don't want to go into nothing else.
Facts. All right, y'all. We out. We're going to see y'all next episode. Peace. What's up, y'all? It's Theus McBee. Make sure you go follow No Pump Fakes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.